Good evening, everybody. We have a doubleheader tonight, starting with the Motor City Mad Mouse Show. My name is Scott Morgan Roth, the Motor City Mad Mouse, sporting USF Gap. Wonder why? Because I'm headed with Candy Emling over to the NCAA Women's Final Four in Tampa. We'll be leaving here approximately 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. But I'm talking with a guy who actually lives in the area. His name is Darwyn Kelly. And Darwyn Kelly goes out there, and we're going to be talking NIL tonight. Thanks for being on, Darwyn.
Scott, I appreciate the opportunity. Look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be an awful lot of fun. Why don't you give the audience a little bit of background about yourself, please?
Absolutely. So, so I am from. I grew up outside of Washington D.C. in Prince George's County, Maryland. I did my undergrad at the University of Illinois, where I also played football there. 2013, I was on scholarship. Had a great experience. I had a grad year because I redshirted my first year. I did my grad year at Central Michigan, and then after that, ended up transitioning into real estate. Went to University Miami, as you can see. Got a
Yeah.
got on the shirt. Did a real estate development program there. So I've been in real estate for the past few years, but sports and football specifically has always been like my first passion, first love, and that's where I am working at now in that space.
Sounds good. All right, let's talk about the NIL. I need you to explain why there's over 1,000 players in the transfer portal as of mid-March, and we're talking about March Madness people in basketball only. And a couple of coaches have come out against this. John Calipari tells his players that either you're in or you're out. And Steve Alford is really ticked off about the timing of all of this because the reality is, it's there are better times to do it than during March Madness. You're here to win a tournament, not to go out there and be distracted by all of this. So, with that said, there's 1,000 players in the portal. Give me your best explanation why this is the case.
So NIL certainly has, well, the transfer portal certainly has its pros and cons. Um, I can't even explain why there's 1,000 players in the portal in the midst of March Madness. I understand the purpose behind the transfer portal, but I also think like it's a time and place. And I think that like perhaps maybe and I know the everything is new. But I think that there probably needs to be some amendments and probably pushing this to a date like out maybe after the tournament could be a better option just so it's not a distraction to the teams.
And the same holds true with the bowl games. Football, we all know, is number one in terms of a revenue, but a lot of guys are transferring during bowl games. You're seeing teams that can't even field teams and are forced to not attend bowl games. They've had to bring in teams that weren't qualified to do that. Explain to my why this is all going on in football as well.
Yep. So bowl games, I can see how, not saying that it's right, but I can see how it's a difference if you're not playing in the playoffs. If you're not one of the 12 teams that made it to the playoffs, like I could see because that window of the winter break that the student athletes get, I think it's like a month or so. That's really a pivotal time where if an opportunity isn't looking like it's the right one for you, like that month or 3 weeks or so could be a great time to find like your next school just so when the spring semester starts, like you could get right into what's going to be next for you. Again, not saying that is right, but I could understand it, especially if your team is not in the playoffs.
Well, again, we talk about timing, and I can tell you right now, and I'm telling you now, we're talking about Michigan State has canceled its spring game because they're afraid that players are going to get poached. This recently came down. I know that actually Colorado and Syracuse wanted to play one against each other, but the NCAA turned that one down. But explain to me about why spring games are getting canceled because they don't want their players to get poached.
Exactly. So I think Matt Rule, Nebraska's head coach, was one of the first coaches that came out and said something publicly. And spring games is where it's like a internal scrimmage, but it's for public consumption. And if you have some superstars on your team that have a great day, um, the world sees that, other teams see that, and the transfer portal opens up. The football has two windows for the transfer portal. I know one is coming up here in a few weeks. So, that's like a golden opportunity if a team saw something that they like on another team and they had the resources to go out and get that player, then I could see why teams are pivoting away from that. And like you said, I think the model that Deion Sanders and Fran Brown requested to do, I think that that's certainly coming down the line. Because I think it just
Really?
makes sense for everybody involved. It makes sense for the universities to go out and have like a exhibition, kind of how like the NFL does, like they're like joint practices during training camp.
Right.
So I could certainly see that being a trend for sure.
That's an excellent point when you talk about Deion Sanders and joint practices. He's brought up with an NFL mentality. And that's
Yeah,
exactly so you do make a really good point about joint practices. Whether we ever see that in college or not remains to be seen. So I'm
yeah,
not going to downplay the significance, but I'm going to bring up a few words that I can associate right now. Number one, we're dealing at a time where we're looking at college football and college basketball free agency. All I really care about, to be honest with you, are the rosters. I can't keep track of this even if I wanted to on my worst day. The flip cards are all that matters. Each side, you've seen a flip card, right? Inside the press box,
yeah,
position, depth charts, and all that.
yeah.
All I care about are press conferences and the interviews. That's all that as any sports media would run into. That's what you're supposed to worry about. But other guys like Shaka Smart's telling agents, stay away. I don't want nothing to do with you. Tom Izzo is figuring that he really doesn't need to go out there and compete because you're coming to be coached by me. You're going to make the money. And all he has to do is point out to his track record of making Final Fours. So let's go ahead and break down. And I mentioned John Calipari and Steve Alford. So let's go to the chat room. Candy Evelyn says the winter window for FBS football opened on Monday, December 9th, and closed on Saturday, December 28th. And the spring window will open on April 16th to the 2025, all the way to April 25th. That's for football. So those are your numbers. How do you justify all of that?
I think it makes sense because after the season, after the fall season, the team has that window for players that might want to seek out other opportunities, but also we know how important spring ball is to evaluate the talent, especially if they had a class came in that graduated early from high school or transfer from junior college, and it looks like it's timed up to be after the fall season and after spring ball season, so it
So,
makes sense.
So let's go flip it over for the NCAA transfer portal cycle as the 2025 college basketball season open March 24th and will close on Tuesday, April 22nd. As the transfer cycle begins, expect major movement across the sport. There you go. That talks about again, we're talking about the Sweet 16 affected by it and teams that have players that are in it. Of course, now we're down to four teams, that
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
could be affected in terms of competitive advantage. Keep in mind that this year's tournament for the men's side, you have all four number one teams. There's been no Cinderellas, and you have three number one seeds for the women, and a number two with Connecticut. The only reason why you don't have a fourth is because Juju Watkins got hurt, but you
Mhm.
can't downplay the significance with the Connecticut women who have a
Right.
legacy of their own. So justify all of that type of movement as well.
Right. Right.
No Cinderella stories, Darwin. It's pretty hard to make this stuff up.
So NIL certainly has played a component about that, and I have seen that narrative in the media about the lack of a Cinderella team, and I think that is because of NIL, and the top programs are going to have the resources to bring in the top talent, and in today's climate, you know, not all athletes, but most athletes seem to just want to be paid the most money, and especially if you're the top talent, like you're 4 star, 5 star, then those are going to go to the ones that could pay that. So I think that could be a reason why that there's a lack of a Cinderella team.
Okay, let's talk about your background at the University of Illinois football. Tell me a little bit about what you accomplished there, the position you played, and what you think your NIL value would be then.
Yeah. That's a great question. So I played in 2013. So from 2013 to 2017, had a few different coaches during the during that time frame. I played safety, so I am a defensive guy, 1,000%. And we've had different teams, had some losing seasons, had some 50-50 seasons. We also had a winning season or two. Um, and my college experience on the field and off the field have been great. I've been able to build great relationships, been able to travel the world and play the sport that I love. So, blessed to be honest. Yeah.
As far as your NIL value, do you have any clue whatsoever about what your value would have been?
That's a great question. That's a great question. If I'm an introverted person and I've been evolving over the years, so I certainly would have had the focus, especially with the business mind that I have now. I definitely would have focused more on building the brand and showing people like my unique side. Um, and it's hard to say what my value would have been, but I know if I had the mind that I had now, then I knew I would have attacked things differently and built a brand and just try my best to just be creative and just be outside the box. Because whether I was the star of the team or not, like NIL really creates opportunities for people that have a platform, that have a following, that have like great engagement, to just build partnerships, to get opportunities. So it's kind of hard to say, but that's how I feel.
I like what you said here. If I had the mind now I that I would I have the mind now that I would have had then. Everybody's thinking that way. Really? Seriously? Really? I if I had the mind then, I'd have a camera phone instead. All I had to do is a regular recorder. All I had was a tape recorder back then. So that's all right. I'm with you. I'm just kidding with it. What coach did you play for at University of Illinois?
So Tim
Head
Beckman.
coach.
So yeah, right. So Tim Beckman was the first one. I think I had him for like 2 years. He came from Toledo, in the MAC, and then I want to say a couple years in, we had a new AD, and he brought in Lovey Smith, and I
Okay.
had him for about a year or two. Yep.
How'd you like playing for Lovie Smith?
I learned a ton from Lovie Smith, just being the defensive coach that he is, and um, just his knowledge and expertise from the professional level. Like, he was able to um, bring that down and instill that into our team, and really just picking up on the small things, because I really love, like, during my time, I'm really a cerebral player, and just being able to learn from somebody that has that expertise, um it was just a great opportunity.
You ever ask him any questions what it was like to coach with the Chicago Bears in the NFL?
I did not ask that question. No, I did not ask that question.
Okay, no problem. Let's go to a station break. Candy, Evelyn.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. The South Florida Tribune published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It talks about his 40 plus years in the industry and how the industry has changed over the years. This great book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Get your copy today. And there's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can get this book. You can get our merchandise store, or there is a plethora of great content. Go on the website, check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see the red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what we're talking about. Except this week, Thursday night, we will be on scene in Tampa, where we will be covering the women's Final Four Friday night and Sunday. So we will not be broadcasting tomorrow night. But Scott also does this Motor City Mad Mouse show, which is a one-on-one interview show. You gotta check it out. Check out our YouTube channel and see. Earlier this week, he did an interview with an former MLB trainer that he is known for lots of years. So go check it out. It's a great one-on-one show. Great show. If you want to advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. You can advertise or sponsor a show, or if you want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Now back to our great programming.
And Darwyn Kelly, you're now part of the Motor City Mad Mouse show and the history of it. Talk about the Miami Hurricanes Pro Day occurred last week. What was your take on it? I know that Cam Ward obviously been racking up a lot of money and NIL transfer portal money, and now he's going to cash in on the NFL draft. And I know they recently brought in a guy by the name of Carson Beck, got $10 million to come here from the University of Georgia. And to make matters more interesting, he had 2 cars stolen, and his ex-girlfriend had one. She got hers back. So let's talk about Cam Ward. What are your thoughts about how Cam Ward was able to take advantage of it?
Yeah. So I think Cam was able to do exactly what he wanted to do. The teams were in attendance. He was able to show off his arm strength, was able to show off the throws that he could make. Was confident about it, which I know that's what teams love to see in their starting quarterback. So I think he definitely solidified himself to be the first pick in the draft.
Okay, so when we go to the spring game, we're going to see a guy by the name of Carson Beck. As I told you, a $10 million price tag to come to Miami. A lot of people think he's extremely good. I'll be curious to see what he's all about. The only thing I know about him is he had his 2 luxury vehicles stolen. What do you know anything about Carson Beck from the University of Georgia?
Yeah. I know he's coming off of surgery or coming off of an injury. I know he got hurt in the playoffs last year. I don't know if it was a shoulder or elbow, something like that. But I know he's coming off of that injury. I know he's older. I think is this his last year? Is he his
Yeah, I
senior?
believe yes. Yes, I believe
Yep.
it is.
So he definitely has the experience being a older player. I think they're trying to look to build off of what Cam did last season. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But one thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention about the pro day was the receiver Restrepo.
Yeah, Xavier Restrepo.
Yep. So I know he probably was disappointed in his 40-yard dash time. I believe it was in the 4.8 range.
Right.
And I think that may have a negative impact on his draft placement. But also, I kind of wanted to bring that up to compare him, not compare like their play styles, but just kind of just point out the fact like all pro Keenan Allen, he ran a 4.7. So, like of course, if you're a scout, if you're a GM, like you want the fastest guy, like you would love a player to run a 4.3 or 4.4, but I think in situations like that, I think you just have to just turn on the film because the film doesn't lie, and it's not about being the fastest. Like some guys just know how to get open,
Right.
create space, get separation. And I think if he gets an opportunity, no, he will get an opportunity. And I think that he could possibly still have a good career in the NFL. Just
No.
just wanted to bring that
Well,
up.
I'm glad you did. I've talked to Xavier many, many, many times. If I
Mhm.
were going to project where he'd go, I'd say between rounds 3 and 5. The thing is, the guy can catch the football. He
Yep.
can't. Why do you think he holds a most yards in Miami Hurricanes history? When you talk about the people on that list, I'm not going to get into them, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Xavier Restrepo, the best thing that can happen with him is he lands for some way or another on the same team as Cam Ward. But
Absolutely.
but if
Absolutely.
he falls in the draft and any scouting department is smart enough to pick up on that, then you grab him and then you get Ward. Well, time will tell, and we have
Yeah.
less than a few weeks before we actually find that out. So you say that you follow the Florida Gators football. Tell me what you know about the Gators.
Yep. So I definitely know DJ Lagway is the future. I actually went to a few games last season. In the swamp, I was there for the UM game.
Oh, were you really? So was
Um,
I. Yeah, it was.
yep. So I actually thought if they played him sooner, I thought that they would have had a better season. Because Graham didn't play good in that first game,
Right.
and I think and this is just my opinion. I think but granted, DJ Lagway was a true freshman. Graham is a senior, so I get it. But the team goes as the quarterback goes. So I think DJ Lagway. I think he was still able to get some quality experience as a true freshman, and I think that when recruits know that you have a QB, I think that they want to come play. So I think I know they had a top recruiting class. I think they were like 6. I think Rivals ranked them 6 for their 2025 class. And I think it'll be a big year for them. Gators fans are huge about football, so yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's a huge year for the team and the head coach.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody knows that Graham Mertz has a history of injury problems. DJ Lagway got in, and obviously the Florida Gators played a lot better, and Billy Napier knows he had his quarterback of the future. That's what happened in that sequence. I too was at the game, and I liked what I saw with DJ
Yeah.
Lagway. I knew he was a pretty good prospect. So, my final question: what are you doing now, and what are your goals for the future?
Yeah. So since I transitioned out of real estate, well, not out completely, but just taking a pause because you can't do everything at one time. So in 2023, I founded Top Floor Sports Academy, which is here in Tampa. I work with athletes on and off the field. On the field, just helping them train for the sport. Off the field, just being a mentor, helping them in the NIL space. So just with my love and passion for football, like I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm building businesses around that, and just looking to be a trusted resource for athletes, advocate, and a pillar in the football community. Um, just doing my best to serve, the kids.
So, is one of your goals to get back involved with the University of Miami?
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. I
In what
had a
capacity?
few, huh?
In what capacity?
So I'm open to anything. I definitely am wherever the need is. I'm flexible. I'm adaptable. I have great expertise in a few different areas. And NIL being one. Um, X's and O's being another one. Like just like I said, like at my time at the University of Illinois, learning from Lovey Smith, like I really am passionate just about the game, just about the ins and outs. So I don't want to pin myself to just one area, but wherever the need is, like I'm open to be of support.
So I'm getting the feeling you're getting the itch to get into coaching. Is that correct?
Not really coaching because I know that that's a huge time commitment.
Okay.
And with me being an entrepreneur, I definitely like my flexibility.
Okay.
But you know, and maybe it's something just charting a path that has never been done before. So still kind of working through that, like just taking it day by day and just letting everything fall into place.
I hope it all works for you. Well, Ralph Williams sums it up best. We all know the NIL needs to be fixed, doesn't it? A lot of work to do. So as we close out the show, give me your final thoughts about what you think the NIL needs to be fixed and how can you possibly fix it as we put a bow on this.
That's a great question. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that like I know like the NIL just came about in 2021,
Right.
and things kind of take time to work themselves out, and not just. I think it's been a lot of change in college sports in general. So like if NIL changes like that's one thing. But if the portal changes, if you know what I'm saying, like a lot of things happening at one time, I think that's kind of can be conflicting, confusing. Like everybody trying to learn one thing, but then something else gets changed. So I think just to answer your question, I think there definitely has to be modifications to players that transfer out. Like it's been situations where like if a player is recruited out, then like let's say that they might have got paid. Like, do they have to pay that back?
Mhm.
Like if they didn't fulfill the years of that contract. I know that's one area. Um, I think the revenue sharing will be great for players for universities, and the NIL would just be used as like a thing for the collectives to go out and take care of their top guys. So I don't have all the answers, but I know I guess just kind of moving a little more slower would be my suggestion. Because if you move too fast, if you're changing things like too fast and in a hurry, things can be chaotic.
As far as I'm concerned, at some point, I think there needs to be some sort of government intervention because this thing has spiraled out of control. That's what I'm seeing. Because I think this is way over the head of the NCAA. So I'm glad to have you on the show. Candy, one more station break. Just so you know, at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Sports Exchange. Have a loaded show tonight. So looking forward to having that on. But meanwhile, Darwyn Kelly's been nice enough to share part of his evening with us here on the Motor City Badmouth Show. One more station break, Candy, and we'll call it a night on the Motor City Badmouth Show.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how the industry has changed. Just like NIL and transfer portal have changed, so has the media industry. You got to get his book. Check it out. It's a great read. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, as well as a link to our merchandise store. So if you need a new hoodie or sweatshirt or t-shirt, go to our store and check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what we're going to be talking about, except there are times when we go on location to certain events, which is what is happening tomorrow. We will be traveling to Tampa to actually be at the women's Final Four this weekend, which we will be covering. So there will be no programming tomorrow night on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you want to advertise or sponsor one of our shows, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Great show, fellas.
All right, Darwyn, as we close it out, please let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Well, first, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak. And everybody, you all can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and my name, Darwyn Kelly, DarwynKelly. It's just all one word. That's where you could locate me.
And I found Darwyn on LinkedIn. So there you go. LinkedIn works, everybody. So meanwhile, on behalf of Darwyn Kelly, my name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining me on the Motor City Madmouth Show. Sports Exchange is at the top of the hour. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you very shortly. Bye now.